this.
Fortune favors the bold. By performing this ritual now, I'll gain control of the temple's power without having to duel. What?
Too soon. Too soon. You fool. Only the winner of the sacred tournament is gifted with control over these portals. You've destabilized the temple.
Incorrectly. Creatures have escaped. We must hold the tournament at the appointed time, and hope the victor will use the temple's power to heal the ruptures.
It will be done.
You know, you need to be more aggressive. No, I mean it. You play it too safe.
Why were we told to meet here?
You each have been selected for your unique abilities. There is something important that you must accomplish. A great task has been set before you.
Do we get to duel?
Yes, but first I must see if you are ready.
Hello everyone and welcome to Duel Masters for the PS2. This was an American-only release, I believe, and as far as I know, the rules in this game are identical to the actual card game, even if the story is somewhat more, enjoyably anime. This is the tutorial where we'll go over the very basics of Duel Masters, but in the actual game, we're going to speed up the duels and overview what happened. The game is telling us right now that we need to sacrifice cards to create mana, and we can only summon a card after we have enough mana to summon it. We can see how much mana a card requires by the number in the little dots above the card description. As it just said, we will get our mana back at the end of each turn, so we don't have to worry about losing it. We do need the different types of mana to summon different types of monsters, but we only need to sacrifice a monster from one tribe to permanently gain access to that mana type. So for example, now we can summon whatever beast-type creatures we want, as long as we have enough mana for it. And he just unlocked the light mana type, meaning he can summon any light-type creatures when he has enough mana for it. Right here, the game is reminding us we want to sacrifice a card for mana each turn so we can keep building our stack of mana and summon more powerful cards, or sometimes multiple cards in one turn, depending on how much mana we have. And even though we can summon multiple cards depending on our mana, we can only sacrifice one card for mana per turn. And it doesn't matter which one we sacrifice, we only gain one mana. As the game is saying, each time we summon a monster, it is sick and cannot be used until our next turn. Obviously for balancing reasons. Knight is going to summon his own monster. Ideally, he would normally summon a monster to defend with, but because this is a tutorial, he's only going to summon a normal monster that can just attack. Now, the goal of Duel Masters is not to attack the opponent's monsters or reduce their life points. It's to attack the opponent directly. That's your end goal, is to attack them directly as many times as possible. As the game is describing, we have to attack the opponent 5 times so they run out of shields, and then attack them a final time to win the match. Each time we destroy a shield, they gain a card, because the shields are actually cards that they place. And sometimes those cards can be used immediately after the shield is destroyed. This depends on any special effects the card may have, but we're going to go ahead and attack Knight directly now, or rather attack his shields directly. The monsters get cute little animations like this for attacking, but we're not going to see too many of them. because we're not going to be seeing all the duels in real time. That would be an absolute dreadful thing to experience. As the game is about to explain, we did summon a blocker creature last turn, and these can defend us from enemies that would want to attack our shields directly, which is every enemy. Battles between two monsters are fairly simple. The one with the higher attack power, that number, you know, right underneath them, the one with the higher attack power wins. But we still block the attack even if we lose. So even if a monster were to successfully destroy our phantom fish we're using to block right now, we would still block the attack, and we would just lose the phantom fish. Ideally, we don't want to lose too many monsters because we only have so many cards to summon. Right here, Knight is going to try to attack one of our shields so you can see blocking in action. When we have multiple blocker creatures, we can choose which one we want to block with. Because of course there will be times where it will be beneficial to block with and sacrifice a weaker blocker creature, or sometimes it will be beneficial not to block at all. But a single creature can only block one time per turn, so for example, if two monsters wanted to attack us directly, we would need two blockers to block them both. Otherwise, at least one of them would be successful. The game is trying to teach us about spell cards right here, which are like monster cards, except, of course, they're not monsters. They just have special effects that you can use. Just like monsters, though, we need mana and that specific tribe of mana in order to use a spell card. This one just sends an enemy back to its owner's hand. In this case, it's the Emerald Grass, which is Knight's only blocker creature, which is unfortunate for him, but good for us because now we have an opening to attack him. I'm going to take this opportunity to mention that blocker creatures can also block other monsters on your side that are being attacked. This is useful when you have monsters that you use to destroy shields that can't necessarily defend themselves too well. This turn, Knight is going to summon a card that is much stronger than anything we currently have. We won't be able to destroy it using Burning Mane or Phantom Fish because Burning Mane simply isn't strong enough, and Phantom Fish cannot attack people or monsters directly. So instead we're going to summon a monster with special card rules in order to balance this out. The monster we're going to summon is Deathblade Beetle, which has special rules stating that it gains more attack power when it strikes an enemy, and that it also can destroy two shields at once if it tries to destroy shields. Aside from these special attributes, it works the same as any other card. The important thing, though, is that it gains more attack power when it actually strikes a monster. So next turn we're going to be able to use it to destroy Knight's monster. Here the game is explaining, though, that we can only do that if said monster is tapped. After you use a monster to defend or attack, it will be tired it can't do anything until your next turn, but that also means it's vulnerable to enemy attacks on the enemy's turn. Normally we would defend against this attack using our Phantom Fish, but the tutorial isn't going to let us this turn. It is impossible to lose this tutorial fight either way, though. Now that Knight's monster lock has completed an action, you can see the little Z's rising above its head, which means it's tapped. And that means that we can now safely attack it. But even though it's tapped now and can be attacked, it's still the case that the monster with the highest attack power wins. You don't just get a free shot or anything like that. So we need to attack with Deathblade Beetle, which has that special boost in attack power we mentioned, otherwise we won't be able to destroy Locke, and we will lose the fight. After the Deathblade Beetle destroys Locke, we can still attack Knight using our Burning Mane, which will destroy another one of his shields. We can't attack using the second Deathblade Beetle that we summoned during this turn, though, because it has Summoning Sickness. You can't attack with monsters in the same turn you summon them. Now, regardless of what Knight does, he's pretty screwed at this point. Even if he pulls out multiple defending creatures, we can destroy them with our Deathblade Beetles. Unless they have a really ridiculously high power, that is, which is not impossible. But the tutorial duel has its own agenda, so I'm just mentioning the possibilities even though we won't really see them. As the game says, Knight does only have 2 shields left, but he's going to summon 2 defensive creatures this turn, and a regular monster just to balance it out a little bit. Normally this means that we would have to use our Deathblade Beetles to destroy the blocking monsters, but Again, the tutorial duel has its own agenda in mind. It's going to make Knight attack us with Stone Sword, and we're not going to defend, which is what we would normally do, so the game could show us a shield trigger. A shield trigger is when one of our shield cards is destroyed, but the card has a special effect that enables us to play it immediately after the shield is gone. In this case, after Stone Sword destroys a shield, the shield card reveals itself to be Spiral Gate, which we used earlier to send a creature back to Knight's hand. And we're going to do that again here. Because it's a shield trigger, we can play it immediately at no cost when the shield goes down. Shield trigger cards can be very useful when you're losing a lot of shields at once and you need something to tip the battle back in your favor, because a lot of those effects can be really brutal. But in this case, we just sent a single monster back to Knight's hand, so that way we can destroy him this turn with our multiple Deathblade Beetles. This video and tutorial, again, just to get you used to how the game works in a basic sense, because we're not going to be seeing all the rest of the duels in real time. That would be agonizing. So after we defeat Knight here, there will be another short cutscene, and then I'll see you next video for the start of Rusty's campaign, which is the main game. Or at least part of it.
Each of the 5 civilizations, fire, water, nature, light, and darkness, calls out to one of you. This is why I've gathered you together, and with my help, you will learn to strengthen this bond and become Kaijudo Masters. Only then will you be prepared to face the challenges of the 5 Colors Tournament.
The 5 Colors Tournament?
That's a restricted entry tournament.
Only the best.
Of the best. Cool!
You will progress as individuals, but a group's true strength lies in working together. Once you have honed your skills, we will speak again.
This is gonna be so cool!